In the first part of an exclusive interview with Frederick Erixon, we discussed the prospects of the Eurozone. Now in part two, we look forward to 2012. Next year is a big year in terms of elections, with France, the US and Russia all going to the ballot box. So I asked Mr. Erixon about the potential problems this could cause for the global economy.
Sure, no, I mean, it's when you live in times like this, where political factors are the big uncertainties for the real economy as well as for the financial markets. Election years, of course, is going to offer even greater uncertainties. I think we're going to see some problems overall emanating from the United States. I think that's a far more important country than France or Russia for the world economy or financial markets. I think we hopefully are not going to have any sort of repetition of the sad theater that was played out in Washington, D.C. this summer over the budget limits. But we might see something ahead of the presidential election where there is little appetite from both the White House as well as from the Republicans to actually do any deals ahead of the presidential election. Hopefully any problems of that kind are not going to have the sort of disastrous effect as we saw this summer. I think France is less problematic in the sense that Nicolas Sarkozy, who has been very poorly rated by the French electorate in the past years, is on his way up, and I think the opposition leader François Hollande hasn't really convinced French people that he is of the timber and the quality that you need to have at a time like this. So I think the crisis itself is playing into the hands of Sarkozy, and we've seen a pickup in the polls for him in the last years. I think the whole saga of Dominique Strauss-Kahn has sharply lowered the morale of the French Socialist Party, and they've been fighting much more with each other than coming up with a good strategy for actually fighting Sarkozy. So I think and when you look at French politics, you'll see that even if I don't have any big regards for Sarkozy as a politician or as an economic politician, I think he's vastly better than any other alternative in France. So I think we might be on track there to see a development which actually can calm markets and help to restore confidence rather than the opposite. I think for the next year, I mean, the big question mark will still be the Eurozone and the ability of the Eurozone to create stability and confidence, and that we're going to avoid the sort of uncertainties which is now at the heart of driving down the real economy, driving down economic activity.
You mentioned the US there, but what about other potential threats to the global economy? I'm thinking specifically about the so-called hard landing for China, and also the potential threat posed by Iran and a potential spike in oil prices.
Yes, I mean, I'm not so concerned about China for next year. I'm concerned about China in the medium term. Look, I mean, people have been forecasting a hard landing for China every year since 2003, and it hasn't happened yet. I think, however, that we're going to see slowing growth in China. We're going to see much bigger problems in the financial sector, and those are also going to be at the heart of any potential big problems, big financial problems that we may see in China in the medium-term future. But I think for next year, China is largely going to be fine. We're going to see still high growth, and it's still going to be a strong vehicle for the entire world economy. Hopefully, we are not going to have as many, I wouldn't say bad events, because I think many of the events that have happened this year has actually been good, like for instance the toppling of autocratic regimes in Northern Africa and the Middle East. But I think at least 2013 might be a little bit more calmer, in the sense that we're not going to see as many big events around the world, which is going to have the effect that you create uncertainty on markets as well as in the real economy. I think for economic purposes, the Iran situation is pretty isolated, in the sense that it is not of any significant importance to the world economy. It's of importance to a couple of its regional neighbors. As energy suppliers, it's of importance to a handful of countries as well. But with the overall slowdown in the world economy, with falling demand of energy, I think that's a situation which you can, easily handle through normal market forces.
So just to finish off, if we're sat here again in a year's time, do you think we'll be talking about a potential breakup of the euro if it hasn't happened already?
Well, possibly we'll be talking about a potential breakup of euro, but not a collapse, which I think is one of the real risks right now, an entire collapse of the eurozone. But possibly still a breakup in the sense that there might be countries on the verge of leaving. And I think at some point next year, there will have to be a decision over Greece, because as things are going right now, Greece cannot remain in the eurozone. It must leave the eurozone for its own good. And unless there is going to be a fundamental change of track in how the eurozone and the IMF have been treating Greece, in the sense what conditions they are attaching to the loans to Greece, unless that profound change is going to happen, Greece is on the brink of leaving the eurozone. So I think we're still going to talk about problems in the eurozone, possibly even the risk of a breakup, in the sense that possibly a couple of other countries that also wants to take a holiday from being in the eurozone, but hopefully not. We're not going to be afraid of a total collapse.